Hey everyone, welcome back to the English Hour. I'm Sophia, and today we're diving into a topic that's super important, but often overlooked: how to build confidence when speaking English. And joining me again is the awesome Jacob.
Hi, Sophia. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited for today's topic because confidence really is the magic ingredient in communication.
Absolutely. So, Jacob, why do you think so many learners struggle with speaking confidence, even when they know a lot of vocabulary and grammar?
Great question. I think it's mostly fear of making mistakes, fear of being judged, fear of not being understood. And sometimes people are just too hard on themselves.
That's so true. I always tell learners mistakes are not failures, they're steps forward. Every mistake is a learning opportunity.
Yes. And honestly, native speakers make mistakes all the time too. We just don't notice because we're used to it.
Exactly. Like, how often do we trip over our words even in our first language?
All the time, laughs, it's natural. The goal of communication is not perfection, it's connection.
I love that. So, what are some practical tips you'd suggest to someone who feels nervous speaking English?
First, practice speaking out loud every day, even if it's just to yourself. Describe what you're doing. I'm making coffee. I'm reading a book. Things like that. It gets your brain used to forming sentences quickly.
That's a great one. I also suggest recording yourself sometimes. It might feel weird at first, but it helps you hear your own progress over time.
Totally. And once you get comfortable hearing your own voice, you start noticing what you're good at, not just the mistakes.
Right. And another thing, find a language buddy. Having someone to practice with makes a huge difference. It can be a friend, a tutor, or someone you meet online.
100% conversation partners help take the pressure off because it's just a chat. It's not a test.
Exactly. And even if you don't have a partner, reading out loud from books or articles is also a great way to build fluency and confidence.
Yep, and you can even try shadowing exercises. Listen to a native speaker and immediately try to copy their pronunciation and rhythm. It's challenging but super effective.
Oh yes, shadowing is fantastic. It trains your brain and mouth to work together more naturally.
Sophia, have you ever had a moment when you felt nervous speaking another language?
Oh, for sure. When I first tried speaking Spanish in public, I was terrified. I thought everyone would laugh at my accent. But you know what? People were actually so encouraging and happy that I tried.
That's usually the case. Most people are supportive because they appreciate the effort.
Exactly. So, to anyone listening, you're probably doing better than you think. People aren't focusing on your mistakes. They're focusing on the fact that you're making the effort to communicate.
That's such a powerful message. Confidence grows with practice, but you have to be willing to start small and be kind to yourself along the way.
Couldn't agree more, Jacob.
You know what else helps, Sophia? Celebrating small wins. Like, if you had a full conversation in English today, even if it wasn't perfect, that's a big achievement.
Yes, I always say, don't wait to be fluent to be proud of yourself. Be proud every step of the way. Every sentence you speak is proof that you're improving.
And here's something practical: keeping a confidence journal. After each speaking session, write down one thing you did well. Maybe you used a new word correctly or spoke without pausing too much.
That's brilliant, Jacob. It helps shift the focus from what went wrong to what went right. And over time, you build a positive mindset toward learning.
Exactly. And mindset is everything. If you believe you can grow, you will. If you let fear take over, it'll slow you down.
So true. And for our listeners, remember, confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. Bit by bit, word by word, sentence by sentence.
And you don't have to be perfect to be confident. You just need to be brave enough to try.
I love that, Jacob. Hey, let's do a quick practice exercise for our listeners right now.
Great idea. What do you have in mind?
I'll say a sentence, and you, our listeners, repeat it out loud. Here's the first one. I am not afraid to make mistakes in English.
Nice one. All right, here's the next. Every time I speak, I get better.
And one more. My voice matters, and my message is important.
How did that feel, everyone? Saying positive things out loud can rewire how we think and feel about ourselves.
It really does. Daily affirmations like these boost your speaking confidence more than you might expect.
And combining that with regular speaking practice, you'll be unstoppable.
I'm curious, Jacob, when you're learning something new, how do you build confidence?
I try to immerse myself in it as much as possible. Like if I'm learning a new language, I listen to music, watch movies, and talk to myself in that language. It keeps my brain in that zone.
That's a great point. Immersion makes the language feel more natural over time. Even changing your phone's language setting can help.
Oh, yes. It can be confusing at first, but it's a powerful way to train your brain.
So, for everyone listening, whether you're just starting or you've been learning for years, remember, your confidence will grow as you keep showing up.
Show up, speak up, and never give up.
That's a quote right there.
Haha, feel free to quote me. But seriously, Sophia, one thing I see learners struggle with is comparing themselves to others. That can really hurt confidence.
Yes, that's such a common trap. You see someone speaking fluently and you start thinking, why can't I speak like that? But you don't see the years they've put in behind the scenes.
Exactly. Everyone's journey is different. Your pace, your background, your challenges, they're all unique. So instead of comparing, try learning from others.
Right. Turn comparison into inspiration. Like, if someone speaks really well, ask yourself, what can I learn from them? Maybe it's their pronunciation, or how they pause, or the words they use.
And sometimes, it's just the confidence they have. Even if they make mistakes, they speak anyway. That's powerful.
Yes, fluency doesn't mean no mistakes. It means comfortable expressing yourself. Mistakes are part of the ride.
Speaking of which, do you remember a moment when you made a funny mistake while learning a language?
Oh yes, I once meant to say, I'm full, after dinner in Spanish, but I accidentally said something not very polite. Everyone laughed, including me.
Haha, those moments stick with us. But they also help us remember the right way next time. Mistakes can be the best teachers.
Absolutely. And when you can laugh at yourself, learning becomes more fun and less stressful.
That's what we want for all our listeners, a joyful journey. Learning English can be exciting, meaningful, and yes, even fun.
So true. And this podcast is a safe space to grow, learn, and improve without judgment.
Mm,
Speaking of safe spaces, Jacob, what do you think learners should do when they feel stuck? You know, when progress feels slow.
that's a great question. First of all, pause and breathe. Feeling stuck is totally normal. Sometimes your brain is just processing what you've already learned.
Oh, I love that. Like the learning is still happening in the background.
Exactly, and second, change things up. If you're always reading, try listening. If you're writing a lot, try speaking. A change in routine can reignite motivation.
That makes sense. It's like when you hit a fitness plateau and need a new workout. The brain needs variety too.
Yes, and don't underestimate the power of rest. Stepping away for a bit doesn't mean giving up, it can be the refresh you need.
That reminds me of the phrase, rest is part of the process. It's true in learning as much as in life.
Couldn't agree more. Also, celebrate the small wins. Maybe you understood a full sentence without subtitles, celebrate that.
Or you remembered a word you learned last week. That's progress. It's those small victories that build up your confidence over time.
Speaking of confidence, what's one tip you'd give someone who's scared to speak in English?
Ooh, I'd say speak to yourself first. In the mirror, out loud, in your thoughts, practice forming sentences. It feels silly, but it works.
That's so true. It builds fluency without pressure. And then you feel more prepared when you talk to others.
Yes, and record yourself too. You'll be surprised how much progress you can hear over time.
Wow, Sophia, we've touched on so many helpful things today. I'm loving this conversation.
Me too, Jacob. It's amazing how much ground we've covered. And you know what? I think learners sometimes underestimate how powerful their mindset is.
Definitely. A positive mindset can completely change your learning journey. If you believe you can improve, you will improve.
Exactly. And even if you have a bad speaking day or forget a word, it doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're growing.
Yes, I like to say mistakes are the footprints of progress. Without them, you're not moving forward.
That's beautiful, Jacob. Mistakes are the footprints of progress. I'll remember that.
Thanks, Sophia, and listeners, remember mistakes are not your enemy. They're your best teacher.
Absolutely. And speaking of mistakes, Jacob, do you have a memorable mistake you made while learning a language?
Oh, I have so many, but one time I was learning Spanish, and instead of saying, I'm embarrassed, si estoy avergonzado, I accidentally said estoy embarazada, which means I'm pregnant.
Laughs. No way, that's hilarious. How did people react?
They burst out laughing. But honestly, it made me bond with them even more. They corrected me kindly, and it became a funny memory I'll never forget.
That's such a perfect example. Even embarrassing moments can become positive learning experiences.
Totally. And, when you can laugh at yourself, you remove the fear. Learning becomes lighter and more joyful.
I love that. Laughing at your mistakes instead of fearing them, that's real growth.
100%. If you can embrace mistakes, stay curious, and keep practicing, you're unstoppable.
That's the spirit.
So true, Sophia. And speaking of curiosity, I think another key to language growth is staying endlessly curious about words, about expressions, about the way people speak.
Yes, curiosity drives exploration. When you're curious, you naturally want to learn more, listen more, and ask more questions.
Exactly. It turns every conversation into a little adventure. Like, instead of just memorizing a phrase, you start wondering, why do they say it this way? Or, what's the cultural meaning behind it?
That's such a great point. Culture and language are so deeply connected. Sometimes understanding the culture helps you understand the language much better.
Definitely. For example, in Japanese, there are so many levels of politeness. It's not just about the words, it's about understanding respect in the culture.
Right. And once you see language through that cultural lens, it becomes richer and more meaningful.
It does. And it also makes learning way more fun. You're not just learning a set of rules, you're connecting with people, traditions, history. It's beautiful.
Beautifully said, Jacob. And I think our listeners should remember that when you're learning a language, you're stepping into a whole new world.
Absolutely. And the more open you are to that world, the faster and deeper your learning will be.
So true. Maybe a good little tip for today's listeners could be pick one cultural thing related to your target language, like a festival, a holiday, a song, and explore it a little.
I love that. Like if you're learning Italian, look into how Italians celebrate Ferragosto. Or if you're learning Korean, explore Chuseok.
Exactly. It'll make the language come alive in a much more personal way.
And it'll give you lots of interesting things to talk about with native speakers too. Conversations will flow more naturally.
Definitely. It's like giving yourself more colors to paint with when you're speaking.
What a beautiful image, Sophia. More colors, more expression, more connection.
That's what language is all about at the end of the day: connection.
Sophia, another thing that's helped me a lot is storytelling. When I try to remember a new word or phrase, I make up a little story around it.
Oh, I love that technique. It makes the words stick in your mind because it's attached to a feeling or a funny situation.
Exactly, like if I'm trying to remember the Spanish word for apple, which is manzana, I imagine a giant apple wearing a crown, ruling over a kingdom of fruit. It's silly, but I never forget the word after that.
That's brilliant, Jacob. And it shows that the brain loves vivid images and emotions. It remembers them so much better than just plain memorization.
Yes, and it also makes studying more fun. Instead of forcing myself to sit with a list of words, I feel like I'm playing a game.
That's a major mindset shift, isn't it? From, I have to learn this, to, I get to create stories and adventures.
Absolutely. And it removes a lot of the pressure. When you're having fun, you don't even realize how much you're learning.
True. And I think that applies to life in general, not just language learning. When we bring curiosity, creativity, and joy into anything we do, we grow faster and feel happier.
Well said, Sophia. And maybe that's the secret all along, enjoying the process.
Exactly. Growth isn't just about reaching the destination, It's about loving the journey.
So, to all our listeners out there, find your joy in the journey. Whether it's through stories, songs, movies, conversations, or cultural adventures, make it fun, and the progress will come naturally.
Beautiful advice, Jacob. And remember, it's okay to stumble along the way. Every stumble is just another step forward.
Absolutely. Language learning in life isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Sophia, speaking of stumbling, I remember when I first tried to order food in Italian, I completely mixed up the words for chicken and fish.
Oh no, what happened?
I wanted to order chicken, but I accidentally asked for a huge plate of fish. I was so confused when it arrived, but I just smiled and ate it anyway.
That's the spirit. And honestly, those moments make the best memories. Mistakes are just little stories in the making.
Right? And the restaurant owner was so kind. He laughed with me and even taught me a few more food words. It became one of my favorite experiences from that trip.
That's such a great example of how people usually appreciate when you make an effort to speak their language, even if it's not perfect.
Yes, most people are incredibly supportive. They admire the courage it takes to try.
That reminds me, one of our listeners recently shared a story about practicing English at a coffee shop. They said they were nervous, but the barista ended up giving them a free cookie for their bravery.
That's awesome, a free cookie and a confidence boost.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even small steps forward can lead to sweet rewards, sometimes literally.
And it shows how kindness multiplies. When we try, others often meet us with encouragement, not judgment.
Yes. And the more we experience that, the less afraid we become of making mistakes.
It becomes a cycle: try, stumble a little, get support, feel stronger, and try again.
That's the beautiful rhythm of growth. And every little effort counts, even the ones that feel tiny.
Speaking of little efforts, I think sometimes people forget that even listening to an English podcast for 10 minutes a day is a huge win.
Absolutely. It's about consistency. 10 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow. It builds up faster than you realize.
And the best part is, your brain is working behind the scenes, connecting words and phrases, even when you're not actively studying.
Right. It's like planting seeds. You might not see the flowers right away, but one day you realize your garden is full of color.
I love that image, Sophia. Language learning is just like growing a garden. Patience, care, and a little sunshine from positive experiences.
And sometimes a little rain too, like tough days, when things feel confusing. But that's all part of it.
Exactly. The rain makes the roots stronger. Every struggle is actually helping you grow deeper and more resilient.
That's such a comforting thought. And it reminds me that we should be kind to ourselves during the journey, too.
Yes, celebrate the wins, no matter how small. Maybe today you understood a new word. Maybe tomorrow you'll feel a little more confident speaking.
Progress, not perfection, that's the real goal.
And hey, even if you have days when you feel stuck, just showing up matters.
Showing up is everything. You're telling yourself, I'm worth the effort. And that's a powerful message.
Sophia, something that helped me a lot was talking to myself in English during everyday tasks.
Oh, that's a great technique. Like narrating what you're doing.
Exactly. I'm pouring my coffee now. I'm looking for my keys. It feels silly at first, but it trains your brain to think in English.
I love that. And it builds fluency without needing a conversation partner. You become your own English coach.
Totally. And once you're comfortable thinking in English, speaking becomes much more natural.
That's a tip I always recommend to learners. Also, labeling things around your home like mirror, door, bookshelf. It helps reinforce vocabulary visually.
Yes, and combining that with listening to English songs or watching shows with subtitles can turn your whole environment into a learning space.
It's all about making English a part of your life, not just a subject you study. That's how it sticks.
Exactly. And it doesn't need to be perfect. Mistakes are a sign that you're learning and pushing your limits.
So true. Actually, making mistakes is better than staying silent. It shows you're trying, and trying is what leads to progress.
Every time you speak, even if it's just one sentence, you're moving forward.
And we're here to remind you that you're not alone in this journey.
We're cheering you on every step of the way.
Jacob, one more tip I love giving learners: don't be afraid to mimic native speakers.
Ah, yes, shadowing. I've tried that too. Listening to how they speak and then repeating exactly what they said with the same tone and rhythm.
It's incredible for improving pronunciation and intonation. It helps make your English sound more natural.
And it also trains your ear to recognize different accents and slang, which can be a challenge when you're just starting out.
Absolutely. Plus, listening to a variety of speakers from formal news anchors to casual YouTubers gives you a broader understanding of how English is used in real life.
Yeah. And when you get used to the natural flow of conversation, you'll find yourself speaking faster and more confidently without thinking too much about every word.
Exactly. And don't forget to celebrate the small wins. Even if you can only hold a basic conversation for a minute, that's progress.
It sure is. It's easy to overlook the little victories, but they add up. Like the first time you understand a joke in English, or when you can watch a movie without subtitles.
Those are huge milestones. And once you hit one, it makes you even more motivated to keep going.
It's like a snowball effect. One achievement leads to the next.
That's the beauty of learning a language. It's a never-ending cycle of growth.
And you're always moving forward, no matter how slow it seems at times.
Keep at it. And before you know it, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come.
So true, and remember, it's all about enjoying the process, not just the end goal.
That's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much for these insights, Jacob. It's always a pleasure to talk language learning with you.
The pleasure's mine, Sophia. Keep inspiring others to keep going, and I'll keep practicing my English too.
Thanks for sticking with us, Jacob. Let's dive a bit deeper into some other tips. Another thing I always encourage learners to do is think in English.
Yes, I've heard of this one. It feels awkward at first, but it's a game changer in the long run.
Exactly. At first, you'll catch yourself translating everything from your native language, but the goal is to break that habit. Start with simple thoughts like, "What should I have for lunch today?" in English.
That's a great start. It shifts your brain to think directly in English instead of relying on translation. It makes it so much easier when you're in a real conversation.
And it's all about consistency. The more you do it, the more natural it feels. You can even try thinking about what's happening around you. For example, I'm sitting at my desk, drinking coffee. Little things like that.
Right. And as you start to build more vocabulary, you can start having conversations in your head too.
Yes. It's like you're preparing yourself for future conversations. The more your brain gets used to this, the less you have to think about what words to say next.
And don't forget about setting small, daily goals. They help keep you motivated and make the process feel less overwhelming.
Exactly, Jacob, like saying, "I'll learn 10 new words a day," or practicing a conversation topic for 15 minutes. These little goals are achievable and keep you on track.
And they also keep you accountable. Even when life gets busy, having those small tasks makes it easier to stay on the learning path.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about making mistakes. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. The more we practice, the more mistakes we make, and the more we grow.
Exactly. People often worry about mistakes, but it's through those mistakes that you become a better speaker. It's part of the process.
100%. So, if you're feeling unsure or nervous, just remember it's all a part of the journey. You're doing great.
Couldn't agree more. Language learning is like building a muscle. Sometimes it feels tough, but with consistent effort, you'll see the results.
Yes. Keep pushing through, and don't give up. Your future self will thank you for it.
Absolutely. And hey, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Let's do this again sometime.
I'm glad you're enjoying the conversation. Jacob, let's talk about the importance of listening as well. A lot of learners focus heavily on speaking and writing, but listening is just as vital.
That's true. I mean, if you can't understand what others are saying, it's hard to hold a conversation, right?
Exactly. And the good news, is that there are so many fun ways to improve your listening skills. Watching shows, listening to podcasts, or even songs in English can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I love listening to podcasts. It feels more natural because you're hearing how people actually speak with all the slang and expressions.
Exactly, and it's so much more authentic. You get to hear things like intonation, pace, and how words are grouped together. It really helps to understand how English sounds in real, life situations.
I also found that listening to content on topics I enjoy makes it easier to stick with it. For example, if you're into sports, listen to podcasts about your favorite team or athlete in English. It's like combining learning with something fun.
That's a fantastic point. It's easier to stay engaged when you're listening to something that excites you. Plus, you'll be learning new vocabulary related to your interests, which will make it even more relevant to your life.
And when you start understanding more, you'll feel more confident to speak up in conversations. It's like the listening gives you the foundation, and then speaking builds on that.
Absolutely. And speaking of building, it's so important to make sure you're practicing consistently. Even if it's just 5-10 minutes a day, it adds up over time.
Yes, I remember feeling overwhelmed at first, but now I see the progress and realize that it's all about taking those small steps every day.
Exactly. And celebrating those small victories is key. Whether it's understanding a phrase you couldn't before, or having a short conversation, those moments are big milestones.
They really are. I think what's helped me most is sticking with it, even on the tough days, and knowing that every challenge is just part of the process.
You got it, Jacob. Keep going. And you'll see how all of these little efforts turn into something big. Language learning is a journey. And you're definitely on the right path.
Thanks for all the great advice, Sophia. I feel even more motivated now. Let's keep up the great work.
That's the spirit. Jacob, keep the motivation high. One more tip I'd like to add: don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every time you make one, it's actually an opportunity to learn and grow.
You're so right. In the past, I was really hesitant about making mistakes, but once I embraced it, I realized it's just part of the process.
Exactly. Mistakes are like stepping stones. Every time you make one, it's a lesson, and you get better at using the language. Plus, native speakers will appreciate the effort you put in, even if you stumble a bit.
Yeah, that's another thing. Sometimes I worry about making a fool of myself, but I've noticed that most people are understanding, especially if they see you're trying.
You'll definitely get more respect for trying than for staying silent out of fear. It's all about building that confidence. Start small, practice often, and the language will start flowing naturally.
I've been doing that, practicing with friends and even repeating phrases from podcasts. It's been so helpful.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Jacob, and for sharing your insights with everyone. And to all of our listeners, remember, language learning is all about enjoying the process, making mistakes, and staying consistent. Keep practicing, stay curious, and don't be afraid to speak up. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. We'll see you next time.